Okay, welcome back. All right, if you missed the introduction, please look out for the introduction. We should be able to upload it tomorrow or maybe later tonight. We'll try and see if that will be possible. But welcome back. We are looking at this evil bill being called the Reproduction Health Bill, which, like I have said, is actually an abortion bill, but it's also a bill that is against family. I urge you to tag your family members and to bring them in so that then we can go through this. All right, so now at this point, we're just going to try and do just about 20 minutes at most. Just we want to give it in chewable bits so that then we can be able to move ahead. All right, so it describes female genital mutilation and brings it in, which makes you a bit like, why are they getting into female genital mutilation? But one of the things I got to learn is that one of the things that causes a lot of complication and maternal death is actually FGM. So instead of dealing with FGM, it has been brought in so that it can cover things to do with FGM. And of course, there are some areas that are still practicing FGM. So again, typically, what we are seeing in this country is we refuse to deal with the issues that are actually the challenge, and then we want to bring in a bill to sneak things in. So for example, why are we having a lot of teenage pregnancies? They're not as many as, by the way, they're being presented, but we still have a problem. The problem is parenting. The problem is the internet, unrestricted internet, so a lot of pornography and funny exposure. The problem is the music we are allowing in, and then the problem is, of course, what is being shown on television. When you think about it, when we were young, we didn't really know much. And I grew up under Moi's time, and I remember when he stood on a roadside and said, "Yo program naona wamama wakirukaruka, you know, bila nguo, uchi, nimesema itolewe, you know." And let me give you the translation for those of you who may be following and you don't understand what I'm saying. The president used to do roadside declarations, and he declared that some women who are wearing these leotards, he called them, they were naked, it must be removed. And by the end of that day, it was removed. You know, if you lived in my time, you'd know it's a program that used to have, let's get physical, and Moi was very strict on this kind of thing. Anyway, and that was one of the things that is a good thing about him. You know, every leader, no matter what kind of a leader they are, will have a good thing about them at least. So FGM is being brought in, and yet the problem is we need to address that women are dying in childbirth because of FGM, okay? I'll not get into the details of that. I'm not a doctor, but that's the information that I've been able to pick up. So you'll find that FGM has been brought in. And then there's something they are calling IntraPattern Services. This is all under part 1, preliminary. So if you're taking notes, all this is under part 1, the preliminary. So if you want to quote the area you have a challenge with, it is in part 1, preliminary, okay? So IntraPattern Services means the correct diagnosis followed by periodic examinations, screening, and management of complications in the period from onset of labor to the completed delivery of the newborn and the completed delivery of the placenta. And then, yeah, so one thing you will note is the focus on, even though it's called IntraPattern Services, and I'm not a doctor, you begin to notice right from this point, the use of the term complications. So the bill really, yani, if you read this bill and you've never been pregnant, you'd actually think that getting pregnant is the most dangerous thing that can happen to you. It's one of those things. As in, they've put a lot of complications, viable, not viable, viable, not viable. It's so in there, so it sells. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. All right? Then it talks about also, give me a sec. So it talks about assisted reproduction, which means a technique that is used to attempt to obtain a pregnancy by handling or manipulating the sperm or the oocyte, which I guess is the egg, outside the human body and transferring the gamete or the embryo into the reproductive tract. A gamete is actually a sperm or an egg, and then the embryo is when the sperm and the egg have already met, okay? And then it talks about assisted reproduction facility, and then it says it means any premises used for procedures related to assisted reproduction. So I mean, really, I could start that in my living room, you know. I mean, yes, of course, I'm sure there's going to be, certificates for getting this, but it just basically shows that anybody could open a sperm bank anywhere, okay? And please note that you will be required, if you do give sperm, or you give your eggs, or you keep your eggs, or you keep your sperm, you will be required to give in your name and all those details. So meaning, in a country where there's a lot of corruption, someone could actually come, pick up your sperm, you don't know anything about it, they get pregnant, and then when you become a very serious person there with money, they come and they say that they had a baby by you. I mean, in Kenya, you can make anything pretty much disappear. So what we're going to be seeing is a lot of inheritance, succession cases. They're called succession cases. You're going to see a lot of people. And, guys, we've already seen how in Kenya, the moment that a rich man dies, a lot of people come forward with stories about how they had, the woman comes forward saying how they had the baby of the person. It never with the poor, but with the rich, that is an issue. So for the men, that's something you need to be careful about, because that is indeed a big problem that is looking to happen. So the other thing you need to note, with assisted reproduction, if they take what they're calling gametes and they decide that they are enough, this is why we normally don't encourage this assisted reproduction, other than the fact that it's extremely draining for women, but also for the men it's extremely difficult, and it's also not the natural thing that God wanted us to have. There's also the aspect that any sperm or any egg that they do not need, they will just get rid of. So those are basically children being thrown around and babies being thrown around. And if they decide they just want one embryo and all the other embryos are not working, they'll actually be thrown out. And you see, those are babies already. So that's a challenge with all this issue of assisted reproduction, which is what they're calling it. So if you're taking notes, it's assisted reproduction. You can quote that. All right. So, oh gosh, I think, let's see. Let me try and... I'm trying to go through the act. Then they've come up with medical practitioner, which means a medical practitioner registered under Section 6 of the Medical Practitioners and Dentists Act. Then they are talking about natural family planning. So again, please note that when they're talking about like medical practitioners, you'll come and find that they actually have things like clinicians. And, anybody can actually take someone through an abortion according to this particular bill. So in the Constitution, they say by a doctor, okay, which is easier. It's, because you've limited the number of people because of the number of doctors. But also remember that thing of accept. I mean, any doctor can actually, if they do not have morals, can actually take someone through an abortion and basically just say that it was not viable or for whatever reason. So it's about, by then let me tell you, if there's something that's going to be tested in our nation and it's being tested in our nation, it's the issue of our integrity. That's what's being tested. When you see people eating COVID-19 funds, it's our integrity. That's what's being tested. And Kenya has to get to the place where we choose to change. Even with this bill, in a place where people have integrity, you can actually be careful about it. But in a place where there's no integrity, it's something to really, really fear, because then things can be manipulated. Then they talk about natural family planning, means a method of planning or avoiding pregnancies by observation of the natural signs and symptoms of fertile and infertile phase of the menstrual cycle. They don't talk anything about adults, okay? They don't say anything about adults. And so if this is the case in terms of family planning, then what are they talking about? What are they offering the same services to children, okay? And then, of course, they talk about neonatal, neonatal services. I told you about parents, all right, so a parent means a biological parent of a child, an adoptive parent of a child, a commissioning parent, or a legal guardian of a child, okay? All right, why is that necessary? Because you will find that it will be used. It will be used and even abused, okay? And then, do I need to describe any other? Oh yeah, pregnancy means the presence of a fetus in the womb, okay? So that's, at least they've stated that one, that pregnancy means the presence of a fetus in the womb. So basically it's saying that it's a person, it's a person in the womb, that's a good thing, right? Referral services means the process of seeking appropriate treatment in which a health worker at one level of the health system having insufficient resources to manage a condition seeks the assistance of an adequately resourced facility. Please note later on you will find in the termination of pregnancy that if you fail to refer somebody for an abortion, okay, if you're a medical practitioner and you fail to refer somebody for an abortion, if you're not able to deal with a case and then you fail to refer somebody for an abortion, then you can actually be jailed. It actually states that, and we'll see that. Then there's the all right, so reproductive rights, they say that it includes the right of all individuals to attain the highest standard of sexual, all individuals, all right? So this brings in homosexuality, but this also brings children in, and this is a big issue in this bill. It actually goes against the Child Act and it goes against the Sexual Offences Act, where unless you're the age of 18 and above, you cannot give consent. You cannot sleep with a 16-year-old and then argue in court that that they agreed, okay, or that they're the ones who even seduced you. It's actually called defiling a child, and it's a serious offense under the Sexual Offences Act. So what we need to do is deal with the strengthening of the Sexual Offences Act, get ourselves to the place where, like in America, I'm sure you've seen even in the movies, whenever they have all these rowdy things happening, and then someone finds out the age of a person and the person is not 18, the guy loses interest immediately and gets up and cannot touch that person. Why? Because the laws are so strict. And in Kenya, we haven't ensured that those laws are strict. But what we should also be doing is prosecuting parents who cover up sexual offenses, parents who take cows in exchange of your child having been defiled, parents who take money in exchange for your child having been defiled. Because remember, again, we have been shown through statistics that 74% of the cases of defilement of children are by people they know. 74%. That tells you we have a big problem, okay? So reproductive rights include the right of all individuals. You need to write that down. That has to be removed. It includes the right of all individuals to attain the highest standard of sexual and reproductive health and to make informed decisions, okay? Remember that you'll be told what to do. I'm sure you've watched the movie Unplanned. So you'll be told what to do, all right? There's even a part where it talks about how, I'll show you that part about the adolescents, that they'll have to be taught about sex education, but also actually they'll have to be taught about unsafe abortions. There is no such thing as a safe abortion. Every abortion is unsafe, but they're going to be teaching our children that you can actually get rid of a pregnancy in a safe manner, okay? So the right to make informed decisions regarding their reproductive lives, free from discrimination, coercion, or violence. Where do you think the violence is? The violence is on homosexuality, okay? Because who else gets violent issues? It's homosexuals, all right? So can you see where they're heading? All right. Then right to safe motherhood means the right of women to access information and quality service throughout pregnancy and childbirth with the desired outcome of a live and healthy mother and baby. That's a good thing, but it doesn't really explain that much later. So surrogacy means the process of a woman carrying and giving birth to a baby for another woman and man who want to have a child but are unable to have a child. It doesn't say they have to be married or anything like that. It says another woman and man. So basically, it could be me and I go with a guy and I say, I mean, really, it can be anybody. Somebody can pose. They can actually pose and pretend that they are a couple that way, but the child is actually for a gay couple. So those are some of the risks as well. But also, why should we have other people carry someone else's child? But if you note that also, it's the emotional drain. There is no place where they talk about counseling the 21-year-old who carries a pregnancy to term. They do say that it's not supposed to be for money, but really, people are normally paid and there's always something to gain out of it. So little girls could actually begin to turn this into a profiteering thing. yeah, where you're basically sitting and you're just giving birth for other people. And then please note that it does talk about in surrogacy that if at any time that they test the baby and find that the DNA of the baby is not the DNA of the parents, surrogate parents, then they actually the contract terminates itself. So what happens to this 21-year-old? Okay, so where does that come in the event that the 21-year-old is sexually active? You know, maybe whatever in the fertilization, whatever it's called, or insemination, artificial insemination, like the way you see cows being done. So you get artificial insemination where the sperm and the egg are put inside of you, and then after that, if you go and have sex before, you know, the fertilization period, then you get pregnant by somebody else, then it means that they will be able to detect that as well. And once they detect that, then what will happen is that they can actually get out of it. But also by law, it means you can be sued. Okay, means you can be sued. So for the 21-year-olds who are listening and very excited here, thinking that you know, this is something good that has come, please note you can also be sued. Okay, all right. I do need to wind up soon. Okay, so again, just a repetition of section 3. Okay, section 3. You just write 3. Yeah, you don't have to write section. You just write 3, and then if you look at A and C, those are contentious areas because it talks about reproductive health rights for every person. Okay, so that's an issue. And then of course, comprehensive health care services to every person, that's okay. But then, you know, that's already covered under the Health Act. So our argument on C is that it's covered under the Health Act. On A, reproductive health rights are not needed for everybody. Okay, they are needed for adults, because otherwise, if not, then it is contrary to the Sexual Offences Act and also the Children's Act. Okay, that's what you can put in as an argument. And then section 4 talks about the national government, and this is where we argue that it's one of the places where we argue that this is a money bill. Remember what I shared with you about the money bill in the Constitution of Kenya 2010. One of the things you'll find written there is that in Article 114, a money bill refers to any bill that has financial implications. Okay, so this is a money bill in that in section 4, it actually talks about the local government, the counties providing reproductive health services. It talks about training and all those things. So we have to be very careful about that. But actually, really, it shouldn't be discussed by the entire parliament, if at all, because it does have a budgetary aspect to it. Okay, so that is about section 4. Okay, section 4, and you see it over and over and over. And again, the issue of reproductive health services for everybody coming up again. All right. All right, so in the same section 4, subsection E2, says the type and quantity of diagnostic and therapeutic equipment required by a health facility in order to provide reproductive health services effectively. So basically, we are talking money. There's money here involved. Then remember the diagnostics and therapeutic equipment, very, very focused on finding a problem with the pregnancy. Okay, very, very focused on finding a problem with the pregnancy. And then of course there is part 3, subsection 3, that says the quality of medical supplies of treatment of the complications arising in the delivery of reproductive health services. Why are they planning for complications like this? Well, the complications are already handled under under Article 26 of the Constitution. It is unnecessary. Okay, so that's what we are writing in our memos. It is unnecessary. And then when we go to part H of this same section 4, okay, section 4, part H, carry out sensitization programs on family planning methods and services. So basically, we're going to be having people going around and teaching people about family planning, when at the moment any couple can go into a public health place and receive family planning pills and receive also family planning education. I mean, if you walk into KNH, you can actually get that in a number of places as well, even within the county and the county hospitals. So it is unnecessary, but also what are they doing? They're trying to get people to be sexually active and promiscuous and immoral and basically awaken lusts that are not supposed to be awakened. And then there's I as well, put in place mechanisms to enhance access to family planning and counseling services in all national referral hospitals. Again, guys, there is no focus on adults. Yeah, let me just finish with this part. And then there's J is saying establish linkages and networks with local and international developmental partners. Do you see where it's coming in now? The donors? Yeah. So establish them. So what does this do? Gives permission to the places like Marie Stopes that have been very contentious, IPPF and all those other places. They suddenly become IPAS and all those guys. They suddenly become, they stop becoming, what is it called? Like, you know, people, they stop being suspicious organizations. And suddenly they are linkages and networks. This is part J. They are linkages and networks. And then the organizations to mobilize. Imagine, to allow their organizations, donor organizations, to mobilize and source for funding to promote the realization of the right to reproductive health and delivery of effective reproductive health services. So again, donor. You need to know by then these donors are not coming to help us. Donald Trump has made things very difficult when it comes to abortion in USA. So they are looking for other places to have market. Remember, the market of abortion is in several ways. One, the market is in the actual abortion services, yeah? So there's a cost to it, and therefore, you know, you make money out of that. So it's business. And then two, is also the bigger business is the fetus, the baby. Yeah, the zygote or whatever they call them. That baby is worth millions of dollars. Why? For medicinal purposes. Imagine quite a number of vaccines and drugs have baby parts, okay? And that's why a number of people are saying they are not taking their vaccine for COVID because they believe it has those baby parts. But also imagine, but they, you know, I learned this when I was in America. The Lord revealed it to me. I was in prayer. The Lord gave me this information. Then I started asking. All right, looks like I received some censorship there. Yeah, you have to know also these people who are in whatever, the Facebook, social media. Let me tell you, I told you the strategy. So anyway, baby parts are very, very lucrative. People use them even for sodas, to make some certain kinds of chewing gums. Apparently, there's a taste enhancement thing that they do. Guys in US know this. It's people who are in Africa who don't know this. So as they're coming to look for extra markets here, we think they're coming to help us. They're not coming to help us, okay? It's part of population control, so then they can take over. They're injecting children already to make them sterile. It's already happening, and it's already happening. So we need to be careful. Allow me to stop there. Then we will continue from, oh, sorry, I do need to talk about part L of the same section. It's section what? Oh, Lord. Section 4, about the national government. Here they are talking about education syllabus. Okay? Ministry of Education syllabus. Integrate into the education syllabus appropriate information on reproductive health. We already have it. So they just want to introduce the comprehensive sexual education where they teach children. I don't know if you've seen the pictures. This is a mommy and a daddy, and then they put the cartoons on top of each other, and then they say this is called sex, and this is your mommy and your daddy having sex. Okay? Yeah. It's a very evil bill. Please prepare your memos and begin to do your submissions. I will take you through how to do it. You do need to sign them, so meaning you need to write them. Then use it an electronic signature, or, you know, or print out, and then you can sign it, and you can either deliver, but deliver in duplicate to Parliament, and you go and say you're here to deliver your public participation memo. You take it in duplicate, they will stamp one so that you have your proof that you delivered it, and then there will be the second one, amen, which is the one that you will deliver to them. Our deadline is tomorrow, but I believe if you get this video after, still go ahead and do it, because we were able to stop this thing because we went into public participation without even being invited into it. But please don't delay it. It's an emergency. Pray and act. Please, Church of Jesus Christ, pray and act. Pray and act, okay? The email address is csenate, C-Senate, C-S-E-N-A-T-E, okay? C-S-E-A-N-A-T-E, okay? C-S-E-N-A-T-E at parliament.go.ke, okay? So that is the email address we are sending to, and we are addressing it to the clerk of the Senate, okay, of Kenya. And you can begin to submit just whatever it is today, because you can submit today, you can submit tomorrow more, like that, like that, like that. So let's bombard them and let's get everybody active on this, please. Women, please arise. These are our uteruses that they are trying to turn into a business. It's our children they are trying to destroy. Men, you've always been fantastic at dealing with these issues of abortion. Please don't stop, because the Jezebels are saying it's my body. It's not their body. They would only get, a woman cannot get pregnant by herself. That's a defense mechanism. So men, by all means, continue to arise and speak. And if you're watching and you are in the Senate, we are counting on you to shut it down without us having to keep dealing with this. There is a Health Act. There's no reason why we need a reproductive health bill or act for that matter. We know that very well. What they're trying to do is to just bring in abortion and promiscuity and really to destroy the family unit. That's why as a church we must arise, because God is a God of family. Family is his idea. When we stand before God on the day of judgment, we'll be asked, what did we do with it? What did we do with it? What did we do with it? Thank you so much, Liz, for sharing the spelling of everything. So let's please get busy. You can do it from outside the country. It doesn't say you can't do it if you're not a Kenyan. You know, just send it from wherever you are. Mobilize people and do it. We're actually working together with various churches. They've told me to go ahead and we'll put their logos and we'll put our signatures together and get it done. Mukami is asking tomorrow by what time. Normally when the government says by a certain day, they mean by end of business, which is 5 p.m. Okay, whenever you see by this and this date, it's by normally end of business, but then really they did not say during the day or close of business. I don't know if they said close of business. We need to check. Some of those things are technicalities. So address it to the clerk of the Senate. You do need to sign it. You do need to sign it because they will print it out. So that nobody argues that those are things that the Senate came up with. You do need to sign it. So what you can do is you can even handwrite it. And then you take a photo of it. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Handwrite it, take a photo of it, and then email it to them. Because if your phone has internet and email, that's what you can do. Amen. Let's arise. I will do more tomorrow and tell you more areas tomorrow. Someone is saying, how can diaspora people sign it? Just do yours, my dear. Just do yours, okay? Just do yours. Wherever you are, just do yours. For me, I'm doing it with some pastor friends. So I need people I can get very quickly to sign. So just do yours. Do it by yourself. Just prepare something, write it down. Say, these are the areas I have an issue with. Make sure your handwriting is legible so that nobody argues that they cannot read. So do it the way you used to write your exams. Take a photograph of it and upload it as an email and send it to them as a memo, okay? Amen. God bless you all so much. Don't be worried so much about the format. Just write memo to the Senate and then write the reproductive health bill and write the date that you have done it so that nobody argues that you did it on another date, and then sign it. Let's watch this NTV thing, by the way, and see what is happening with COVID-19 millionaires. And let's pray for grace to be able to handle it. I told you, business, told you. I mean, it's not in the best interest of the government, unfortunately, for people to recover from COVID-19. A lot of people are raking in millions and all that. Yeah, may the Lord help us. And let's keep praying for our country. And please, let's have godly people run for office going forward. Amen. God bless you all so much. And thank you for tuning in.